On a clear spring afternoon, the horizon begins to bruise. Within minutes, a thousands of feet high wall of earth rolls over the plains, eclipsing the sun and plunging the region into pitch blackness. The origins of these massive storms reveal a direct connection between decades of regional farming practices and the sudden failure of the Great Plains ecosystem. Analyzing how the American breadbasket transformed into a desert requires a forensic investigation into biological disruption and human intervention. The Great Plains historically operated as a delicate, semi-arid ecosystem. For thousands of years, the climate's irregular rainfall was balanced by deep-rooted native prairie grasses that anchored the soil and retained scarce moisture. In the early 20th century, a massive agricultural boom pushed settlers to convert this native prairie into farmland. Ripping up millions of acres of indigenous shrubs and grasses, tractors and plows replaced deep anchors with shallow-rooted cash crops and wide expanses of overgrazed pasture. The system held until the early 1930s, when the region's cyclical precipitation stopped. A severe, prolonged drought set in, accompanied by record-breaking summer heat waves. This cross-section shows the Great Plains topsoil reacting to the sudden lack of moisture without its native root systems. Stripped of the organic networks needed to bind the earth together, the structural integrity of the ground fails. The dehydrated earth fractures and dissolves into a fine, loose powder. The high plains are naturally subject to high-speed wind currents. Without its organic anchors, the soil was caught in a vacuum. Millions of acres of unmoored dirt were left defenseless, quickly caught and swept across the continent. By misunderstanding the ecosystem, farmers stripped the land of its only defense, creating an ecological bomb that was waiting for a spark. The apex of the disaster arrived on April 14, 1935. After weeks of storms, residents across the panhandles enjoyed a rare, clear morning. But by 4 in the afternoon, the temperature plummeted, and a massive, blinding black cloud materialized on the horizon. This specific storm displaced an estimated 300,000 tons of prairie topsoil in a single day, burying roads, homes, and machinery in drifting dunes of dirt. As the dirt settled inside homes, it carried a microscopic threat into the lungs of the residents, a condition known as dust pneumonia. This microscopic diagram reveals how dirt pulverized to a fraction of a millimeter infiltrated the body. Particles measuring as small as 2 microns bypassed the body's nasal filters, traveling down the respiratory tract to embed deeply inside the alveoli. This prairie dust contained up to 92.9% silica. When the immune system deployed macrophages to swallow and clear out these foreign particles, the high silica content caused the defending cells to die, releasing cytotoxic enzymes directly into the lung tissue. These enzymes triggered the rapid formation of dense scar tissue, or silicosis. The flexible honeycomb structure of the lungs hardens, destroying the body's ability to exchange oxygen. As the land suffocated, the dust shredded human biology from the inside out, turning the active breathing into a lethal threat. The physical landscape was dying. Consecutive years with less than 10 inches of annual rainfall meant the high plains met the technical definition of a desert. The earth cracked and baked. The regional agricultural economy collapsed, leaving communities destitute. By the end of 1935, the combination of starvation and dust pneumonia claimed over 6,500 lives. Millions packed their belongings onto converted trucks and fled westward, forming the largest internal migration in American history. The reality at the end of the line was often just as grueling. Arriving in California, these migrants flooded into under-resourced, overcrowded resettlement camps. This era of cultural trauma and poverty was captured by artists and writers like John Steinbeck and Woody Guthrie, who chronicled the desperation of a people exiled by the land they tried to conquer. The breakdown of the soil triggered an inescapable chain reaction that broke entire communities and forced a desperate national survival migration. In 1935, the federal government recognized the disaster as a national catastrophe and passed the Soil Conservation Act, establishing permanent oversight for agricultural stewardship. On the ground, the government implemented projects like the Great Plains Shelter Belt. millions of trees were planted in strategic rows to break wind currents and anchor the recovering Earth. Comparing precipitation, the 1930s show a unified, decade-long drought. Today, deficits are localized, preventing simultaneous topsoil failure. Instead, modern agriculture taps the Ogallala Aquifer to artificially stave off dehydration. But this reservoir is draining unsustainably, while climate change increases the risk of 1930s-style extreme heat waves. The Dust Bowl serves as a warning about environmental limits. Modern agriculture relies on finite resources that may simply be delaying an inevitable second collapse.